Oh, hello everyone. Didn't see you there. You may be wondering why I'm plummeting from approximately 20,000 feet out of the sky. To that I say, that's none of your business. So, what is this? Oh, I thought I'd try something new. Oh yeah, by copying Salmonella's style. That guy should have really given me a break. Anyways, now that that's dealt with, let me tell you, I'm not really worried about this whole rapidly plummeting to the Earth thing. And that's because of one theory that has interested me for a while now. That being the theory of quantum immortality. So, firstly, to understand quantum immortality, we need to briefly address the fact that it stems from the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. Basically, imagine the multiverses from literally every movie and TV show right now. The gist of this being that whenever there's a chance between option A occurring or option B occurring, there's a branching out in which both do end up occurring simply in separate universes or realities. Naturally, when this occurs constantly on the smallest and largest of scales, there are going to be infinitely many branches, and by consequence, infinitely many universes. Simple enough, and despite being relatively pseudo-sciencey as a whole, it has proven to be a pretty neat concept. Okay, so, existing in multiple states through multiple universes and infinitely branching choices. How does this relate to being supposedly immortal? Well, think about it this way. I think I would be correct in assuming that you are alive right now. In fact, I would go as far as to say you are even perhaps conscious. Quantum immortality theory states that this isn't a fluke, and that it's a possibility that you will never truly experience death because of the infinite branches that I mentioned earlier. Think about it. If there's a branch where you die, then there has to be one where you live just a little longer, and another where you live even longer than that, and so on for infinity. If we take the many worlds interpretation seriously, and by the way, that's a big if because not many people actually do, but it's a fun topic to discuss, then it means that there is an infinitely small chance of aligning with a branch where you avoid death, from old age and otherwise, forever. And this isn't just suggesting that you can get insanely lucky and ride out one of those immortal branches. It's suggesting that if you currently are conscious, then you are immortal from your point of view and may not know it yet. This is because, delving deeper into the theory, it states that our consciousness transcends these realities and branches and must be aligned with one where you are alive. It's like the Schrodinger's cat experiment, but from the perspective of the cat. Sure, the crazy old guy is shaking the box or whatever to prove some point about how you could be alive or dead until he looks inside. But you know that you're alive. And if you weren't, then you wouldn't have the consciousness to consider that, creating a bit of a paradox where you kind of have to be alive, at least from your point of view. Essentially, you can't die from your point of view simply due to the fact that you exist through that point of view. Hard to believe, and there's some serious mental gymnastics there, but fascinating nonetheless. Let me sum it up with an example. This is Jim, and this is Tim. Tim is now going to swing this extremely spiky bat at Jim. Let's watch.
Hey man, I'm gonna hit you with this now.
Can you not do that?
How did I just miss that?
I don't know, man. You must have gotten really unlucky. So, as you may have noticed, Jim's continuity of consciousness is very straightforward, since that example is based on splitting whenever he meets his demise or not, meaning it was very linear. But what about Tim's consciousness? He doesn't perish during any point in the example, so which timeline does his consciousness reside in? The answer is actually all of them, but also only one. Yep, that's quantum for you. They all happen and all contain his consciousness until he meets his demise, in which case we will know his consciousness cannot be in that timeline and theoretically never was. I think the hardest part of this theory I had to wrap my head around was the sheer fact that there's no real way to disprove it. For example, say I were to fall, 20,000 feet and hit the ground from my point of view. Well, if I actually just die normally, then I can't really give my point of view anymore, and you, an onlooker, can kind of just assume that the theory still checks out, since you personally haven't experienced death. This is just a universe where I die. If I somehow survive the fall, no matter how horribly I manage to do that, then that doesn't really prove anything, does it? I may have just gotten incredibly lucky, and I may continue to get lucky, but the unfortunate fact of the matter is that when we're working with luck to the degree of infinity, then it would take an infinitely many tests to prove anything. Not to mention, you'd have to be pretty stupid to actually test something like this, since, once again, I would bet on this ultimately not actually being how things work. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed my first dive into this kind of content. It's a bit of a jump, I know, but as I said before, just trying something new, just something I find interesting. Whoa, there's the ground.
Bingo! Whoa, whoa, whoa!